How does this happen with a starting quarterback? Why don't we start there? Brian, if you're on this team, you see your quarterback either running his mouth or you can tell when something like this is coming. Why doesn't somebody step in and break it up before this guy gets hurt?
Well, here's the thing. We've heard he was sucker punched.
Yeah.
So that means maybe he was off to the side talking to somebody else and dude came up and sucker punched him. That's even worse that you have to sucker punch somebody. But if you're getting into it heavy with your quarterback, obviously there are going to be guys that are going to swarm to that real quick and get in between you. You know this, Mark.
Yeah.
They're not going to allow you to get into a fight with a quarterback. That's not – when you have a quarterback position guy, you don't want to hurt that right hand, that right arm, that right shoulder, anything on the right side if you're right-handed. And for this to happen to an individual in the National Football League, you talk about childish, you talk about not being a professional, that's what this speaks like. It stinks that this happened. It stinks.
It absolutely does. And it's interesting because I think it was Rich Cimini who wrote an article about the no fighting policy in camp. And we talked about Cam Newton yesterday. And you don't ever want to, I mean, you don't go out and plan to fight. But tempers during training camp, tempers, they get hot.
Sure.
And there's a lot of jawing that goes back and forth. And sometimes, ultimately, fighting during camp is a good thing.
Yes, it is.
Right? Because you don't take that frustration back into the locker room and have something escalate in the locker room. It's handled with pads on, with a helmet on, and it's really hard to get yourself hurt. Not that I would ever say that quarterbacks should get mixed up in any fight. You shouldn't. But I know there's a lot of jawing that goes back and forth during training camp. And ultimately, this is just such an unfortunate situation. And as Brian said, to get cold-cocked in the locker room when you're not looking for it, when you don't see it coming, that's just completely unacceptable. But it's a terrible situation that they find themselves in right now.
How much more difficult did Todd Bowles, who's already a first-year head coach, already coming into a situation that it's not ideal offensively, how much more difficult did his job get today?
Well, it got difficult because you're trying to see if Geno is going to be your quarterback going forward. The defense, I think, will be fine. They did a lot on the defensive side of the ball. They were counting on Geno to manage the game. And once again, he's your first high draft pick, and you're trying to see if he's your guy going forward. Now that process is pushed back because you don't know truly when he's going to be back. So as Ryan Fitzpatrick goes out and has a decent season, do you bring Geno back in to play him towards the end of the season? I don't know. So that's a discussion and a decision he's going to have to make.
Yeah, it's about the development of a young player that you wanted to see if he could play. And he was anointed, quote unquote, the starting quarterback by their offensive coordinator, Chan Gailey. And now you've basically taken that development and you've put it on hold. And you're not going to be able to see going forward as an organization, is this going to be our guy? Does this guy have the requisite skill set and leadership set to actually take us into the future? That thing has been put on hold for the next 10 weeks. That's very unfortunate for the Jets.
All right,
last point for me. Use your words.
How about what we say to our kids?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we say to our kids.
I don't even care if you guys get into an altercation where you're cussing one another out. Use your words. I would prefer for you to use your words in that manner. And it could be some vulgar language. I don't care about that. I would prefer that than having my quarterback's jaw broken. He's out